Have you ever shared a dream out loud and felt the room shrink? Not because your dream was too big for God, not because it was impossible, but because the people listening only had the capacity to see small. There are some visions God gives you that will make small minded people uncomfortable. And if you're not careful, their fear, their doubt, their limited thinking will have you second guessing something that was never meant to fit inside their understanding. So today, we're talking about what it means to dream so big that you stop needing everybody's approval to believe in what's possible for your life. Hey y'all, welcome back to Ways of Change. I'm Vanessa. So let me start with a little confession. I made a faux pas with the numbering on this 100-day challenge. So somewhere along the way, I got off track. And instead of trying to over-explain it or act like it didn't happen, I'm just going to own it and keep it moving. So today is officially day 89. And you know what? That feels a little fitting for today's message because this journey has never been about perfection. It's been about consistency. It's been about showing up. It's been about staying committed, even when things are not polished, perfectly timed, or tied up in a neat little bow. So for today, there are no applications submitted, but I did complete my engagement hour on LinkedIn. And while I was there, I came across a quote that really stopped me in my tracks. It said, "Dream so big, you get uncomfortable telling small-minded people." I felt that, y'all. I really did. Because if you've ever had a dream that felt bigger than your current life, bigger than what your current environment is, bigger than your current situation, bigger than what the people around you could understand, you already know how uncomfortable that could be. Not because the dream is wrong, but because sometimes the people around you only have the capacity to understand what they've seen before. And when you start talking about something bold, something different, faith-filled, risky, or expansive, it could make people feel uneasy. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they question you. Sometimes they give you that look. Y'all know that look. And sometimes they don't say anything at all, but you could feel the doubt in the room. And if you're not careful, their limitations will start trying to shrink your vision. That's what I want to talk about today. There comes a point in your life where your dream starts outgrowing the room you're in, and that could feel lonely. Because the bigger your vision gets, the fewer people can go with you mentally. Some people can only understand goals that feel safe. Some people only clap for things that already make sense. Some people are comfortable with routines, predictability, and staying inside what feels familiar. And with just be grateful for what you have. And listen, gratitude is important. I understand that. But gratitude and growth are not enemies. You could be thankful for where you are and still know there's more for you. You could appreciate what God has already done and still believe He's not done yet. You can honor your present life while also preparing for your next adventure. That's where I think a lot of people get it twisted. They assume that if you want more, you must be dissatisfied. If you want different, you must be ungrateful. If you want bigger, you must be unrealistic. And that's just not true. Sometimes the dream inside you is there because it was planted there on purpose. Sometimes the discomfort you feel is not a warning sign. It's confirmation that you're stretching. I think big dreams make small-minded people uncomfortable for a few reasons. First, your dream challenges their worldview. If they've convinced themselves that life only works one way, then watching you believe for something bigger forces them to confront the limits they've accepted for themselves. Second, your dream can expose fear. Not your fear, their fear. Because when you say you want to move overseas, start over, reinvent yourself, build something meaningful, bet on your purpose, or trust God in uncertainty, that can sound irresponsible to someone who worships security. But not everything that looks risky is reckless. Sometimes it's obedience. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's the first honest thing you've done in a long time. And third, people often project their own disappointments. If they've tried something once and it didn't work, they may assume your dream won't work either. If life made them cynical, they may offer you caution dressed up as wisdom. If they settle, they may call your vision too much because deep down, it reminds them of who they used to be before life wore them down. That doesn't always make them bad people, mind you. But it does mean you have to be careful whose voice gets access to the dream in its early stages. Everything growing doesn't need to be exposed right away. Some things need room, some things need prayer, some things need protection. One of the hardest lessons I'm still learning is that everybody doesn't need to understand your vision. They just don't. And honestly, some people are not even built to understand it. That's why this Trent Shelton reminder hit me so hard. He says, protect your peace. Not everyone needs access to your journey. That right there is real. Because sometimes we overshare a dream that's still fragile, still forming, still sacred. And when the wrong people get their hands on it, they don't nurture it. They question it. They analyze it. They speak on it from their own fear. They're hearing your words, but they didn't hear what God whispered to you in private. They didn't feel the restlessness. They didn't carry the burden. They didn't sit through the disappointment. They didn't wrestle with the fear and still decide to move forward. So when they respond with confusion, skepticism, or small thinking, you can't let that become the measuring stick for what's possible for your life. You can't. You have to know for yourself what you're called towards. That's why self-trust matters. That's why spiritual grounding matters. That's why peace matters. Because if you need outside validation for every next step, you'll be stuck waiting for people to approve what was never assigned to them in the first place. Some dreams are too sacred to run through a focus group. And I think that's part of why this quote hit me so deeply today, because this whole journey I've been on, the job search, the reinvention, the daily postings, the willingness to document the process in real time, the low views, all of it requires a level of belief that doesn't always make sense on paper. There are days when the evidence doesn't match my vision yet. There are days when the applications don't translate into wins. There are days when the numbers don't say much. There are days when this process feels repetitive. And there are days when you wonder if anybody really sees what you're trying to build. And still, we keep going. Why? Because some things have to be believed before they could be seen. Because some doors don't open on demand, my friend. Some seasons are less about applause and more about formation, and that matters. Not every season of your life is supposed to look impressive. Some seasons are about becoming the kind of person who can carry what you've been asking for. That kind of growth is usually done quietly. It's repetitive, it's humbling, it's stretching, it's often invisible, but it's not wasted. Here's what I really want to say today. Don't shrink your dream to make other people more comfortable. Don't do it. Don't make it smaller so it sounds more reasonable. Don't water it down so people won't question you. Don't edit your vision just to avoid their raised eyebrows. Don't reduce your calling to fit inside somebody else's fear. Because once you start minimizing what you really want, you begin betraying yourself. And that betrayal adds up. It shows up as resentment. It shows up as regret. It shows up as that quiet ache of knowing you were meant for more but kept trying to act like more was too much to ask for. No, my friend, dream the full dream. Speak it carefully. Protect it wisely. Use discernment, yes, absolutely, but don't bury it. A lot of people have normal-sized conversations about lives they were never meant to live. And I think for many of us, especially in the season of transition, the real challenge is not whether the dream is possible. The real challenge is whether we're willing to believe in it, even when the room goes quiet. Sometimes being misunderstood is part of the cost of becoming. That doesn't always feel good, no, but it's true. If you're doing something unconventional, faith-led, late-blooming, brave, or deeply personal, there will be moments when people don't get it. Let them not get it. That doesn't mean you're off course. Sometimes misunderstanding is just proof that your life is no longer being governed by the expectations that used to define you. And that's growth. That's maturity. It takes courage to keep building something that doesn't yet have external evidence. It takes courage to keep speaking life over a situation that still looks unfinished. It takes courage to keep nurturing a dream when other people have already decided what your ceiling should be. But I'd rather be stretched by a meaningful dream than trapped in a life that no longer fits. And I think that's where some of us are. We've outgrown the old version of ourselves. We've outgrown the old expectations. We've outgrown the need to be understood by everybody. Raise your hand. Now we have to decide whether we're going to honor that growth or apologize for it. Our scripture anchor for today is coming from 2 Timothy, 1st chapter, 7th verse. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. I chose this scripture for today because big dreams can stir up fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of looking foolish, fear of getting your hopes up. But that fear is not your assignment. God did not give you a spirit of fear. He gave you power. He gave you love. He gave you a sound mind. So when people respond to your dream from their fear, you don't have to adopt it as your own. You could stay grounded. You could stay prayerful. You could stay clear about what God is doing in your life. So today, if you've been feeling hesitant about your dream, if you've been downplaying it, if you've been editing your truth to fit the comfort level of other people, let this be your reminder. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're not foolish for dreaming bigger. You're not too much because your vision doesn't fit inside somebody else's frame of reference. You may just be growing beyond environments that can no longer interpret where you're headed. And that's okay. Not everybody is supposed to understand in real time. Some people will only understand after it happens. Some people will call it unrealistic until it becomes undeniable. Some people will doubt you right up until the evidence arrives. Let them. Your job is to not convince everybody. Your job is to stay aligned, stay grounded, and keep it moving. Even on the days when there were no applications submitted. Even on the days when progress feels quiet. Even on the days when you accidentally mess up on the numbering and have to laugh at yourself and keep it going. Especially on those days. Because this journey is not about performing perfection. It's about becoming. And becoming will always ask something of you. So I have one journal prompt for you today. Where in my life have I been shrinking my dream to make other people more comfortable? And what would it look like to honor the full vision instead? That's a real one. Sit with that for a while. Write on it. Be honest with yourself about it. Hey y'all, this is day 89. The vision is still alive and we are still moving forward. And that counts. If this message resonated with you, go ahead and share it with somebody who's been playing small just to stay palatable. And if you're watching this and if you've been on this journey with me, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can keep coming along for the ride. I'm Vanessa, and this is Ways of Change. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.